So I filmed this whole gosh darn video and there was no sound. So now I got these puppies. Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. If you have watched my previous video, you may have noticed that I said the date was August of 2017. Now it's actually March of 2018. Yeah. See, the thing is, I didn't upload the video and then not post anything for a long time. I actually just uploaded the video a few days ago. I've just been too scared to put it up, honestly. I know the internet can be pretty brutal, so, you know, putting yourself out there, it's kind of scary, but I thought, you know what, I got the dang thing filmed, and I might as well put it up. So, here I am. I kind of wanted to make this video as, like, an update of everything that has happened to me, basically, from last filming in April till today, in March. So, I mentioned in my previous video that a lot of my health conditions, I'm not going to go over those again. If you are curious what I have, please do go back, watch that video. I have been diagnosed with a couple of things since that video, so I wanted to tell you guys about that. Excuse me, I'm actually recovering from the flu, so if I like cough or sound kind of funky, like that, it's because I had the flu like 2 weeks ago, and I'm still kind of in the tail end of the stuffiness and the phlegmy gunk. So that was fun. Okay, health stuff. So, pretty much right after I had filmed that video, I got tested for quite a few things, and it came back that I was positive for chronic Epstein-Barr virus. So, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically the virus that causes mono. Now, I believe in, like, Europe, and maybe Australia too, I'm not sure, but I know I've watched a few YouTubers from Europe who suffered from this, and they call it glandular fever. It's basically the same thing. The kissing disease, you know, mononucleosis, but it is caused by the Epstein-Barr virus. Now, I am not positive for mono, but I do have the virus, so I don't really know the whole, like, medical, you know, this and that of, like, how you have mono, but how you have the virus but not mono. I don't know how that works. All I know is they said you're not contagious, you just have the virus. So this virus is pretty nasty. For those of you who know what mono is, it basically makes you extremely, extremely fatigued. Your glands swell up like crazy. I mean, glands in my neck, glands in my armpits. Like, it's pretty nasty. Like, all over my body, I just have, like, these random swollen pockets, and it's kind of gross, really. And the fatigue, oh my gosh, the fatigue. It is so bad. I mean, I was kind of knew I had chronic fatigue syndrome before I was diagnosed with this, but this just kind of, like, put the nail on the head. Like, yeah, you have Hashimoto's, Lyme disease, chronic Epstein-Barr. All three of those things can cause you to be fatigued. So put them all together, and I'm like a zombie. So, along with being diagnosed with chronic Epstein-Barr, I started developing heart problems. Now, what I mean by heart problems is I mean that all of a sudden my heart would be racing and beating on my chest like I just ran, like sprinted, basically, for absolutely no reason. Usually would happen when I'm resting. So obviously there's no reason for it to be beating. Also at times I would feel this, like, this thud in my chest, and it just felt like a really heavy heartbeat, like oof. And it's kind of freaky. And we noticed, my naturopath noticed that my blood pressure was super low. I mean, like, almost to the point, like, I'm feeling faint. So she took my blood pressure, but my heart rate was racing super fast. So we ended up having me wear a heart monitor. It was just like this little strip thingy that just went right here on my heart. And it was like a little patch that went on there, like a little machine. And it had a little button, and I pushed the button anytime I felt anything funky with my heart. And it came with a smartphone, and the phone would, like, be like, what symptoms are you having? So I had to wear that for 2 weeks, send it in, got the results back, basically saying, confirming what I'm feeling. So I have tachycardia, which is where your heart races. And I don't know what the other thing is called, but it's basically my heart is doing a pre-beat or an extra beat. So instead of da-thud, 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 it's going da-thud, 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 like that. And so my heart will kind of pause for a second and restart itself because it needs to kind of like get the full 2 beats going or whatever. And so that's what the thud is that I'm feeling. It's my heart basically restarting and doing one big thud to like push the blood through. At least that's how the cardiologist explained it to me. So we saw the cardiologist. She is not initially extremely worried. She just said, you know, these are fairly common symptoms that they see in women my age, especially with my health complications. And she ordered a echo, which is an ultrasound of your heart, for me to make sure that there was nothing physical that was causing these problems. You know, make sure that the valves all look good, that the heart's beating okay, and all this kind of stuff. So that is basically health-wise. Now, I do want to touch on a few things that have recently happened in my life because it does majorly affect my mental health and just my life in general. Back on December 9th, I was in a pretty crazy car accident. I was hit head-on, and the guy and the passenger fled. So that was an experience. Basically, I'm driving, going to be turning this way. Well, this person was coming from that road that I was going to turn onto. I'm going to come and drive this way. Well, instead, they jumped the barrier, and bam, hit right into my car. And I was just jamming with the Christmas music, like, yeah, life is good, going Christmas shopping, driving along, and all of a sudden, these lights could come like at me, and I'm like, holy crap. So I, turned my wheel, but it wasn't fast enough. I'm thankful that I had time to turn my wheel, though, because how it hit my car, it hit in the corner instead of directly head on. So I think that saved me a lot of damage, physically. We estimated the car crash was about a 70-mile-per-hour crash because I was going about 30 miles, they were going about 40 miles. And it happened so quickly I didn't have time to put my foot on the brake. So we were both accelerating. And the reason why they had jumped the curb and hit me was because it was a stolen car and they were running from the cops. So that was fun. So we hit, and I literally feel the car go up and slam back down. Like, it just, poof, like that. It hit me so hard, and I just am like, I was wearing my seatbelt, thankfully. So, of course, obviously, right here was, like, hurting really bad. I remember sitting there, and, like, I opened my eyes, I looked straight ahead, and the guy is sitting right there, because the way that we hit, our driver's seat was literally sitting across from each other. And I just kind of look at each other for a second. And then him and his passenger start getting out of the car really quick. And I'm like, oh, they're coming to make sure I'm okay, right? No, they ran. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like watching him run across. I'm just like, what? Like watching him run across the street. And I'm like, this cannot be happening to me right now. This cannot be happening right now. And it was bad. And so I'm like, I should call 911. So I grab my phone and I'm like, sorry, call 911. And so I look down, I'm like, call 911. I look up, and literally, like, right over there, there's a cop car. And then that's how I found out they were actually chasing him. And to my knowledge, they never caught the guys, which is really frustrating. I just hope that they are in more physical pain than me, because I tell you, that really did a number on my body. I ended up with whiplash, a herniated disc in my mid-back, like kind of like right where my shoulder blades are together, and a bulge disc in my low back that's almost my tailbone area that's been causing excruciating pain down my leg and in my foot because it's pinching my nerve right there. That was December 9th, and I'm just now at the point where I can go to the chiropractor twice a week instead of 3 times a week and not be like in excruciating pain between appointments. So that was fun. I did hire a lawyer, so I'm working with him to see about getting myself a settlement through my car because my car is completely totaled. I mean, there's no way. It's not even drivable. I mean, the thing is smashed. I'll go ahead and insert some pictures here.
Damn. Oh shit. That is a head on. They must have went over the line.
So that was an experience. First time I've ever actually been in a car accident, like a major car accident. I was in the car with somebody once when we got rear-ended, but it was like very slight. So yeah, but I'm like, hey, you know what? At least it wasn't my fault. I did nothing wrong. So I was like, thank you, Jesus, that it wasn't worse, because if you look at my car and you look at how it happened, it could have been a heck of a lot worse. It was really scary. And then at this time, right around the same time, actually, we had gotten a call saying that my aunt, my dad's sister, was going into hospice. She had cancer, and she was first diagnosed with breast cancer like 2, maybe 3 years ago. I'm not exactly sure the dates. She went through chemo, radiation, double mastectomy, all that kind of stuff, and was fine. Probably about 6 months later, I don't know, I can't really think of the exact timeline, but I found out that the cancer was back. And from my knowledge of what I've been told, I don't know like if this is truly what it was, but from what I've been told is it wasn't the breast cancer. She actually had lung cancer as well as breast cancer, so it was completely different. And the lung cancer, it spread to her brain, and that basically there was no coming back from it. And she passed away, I would say 2 or 3 days after my car accident. We knew it was coming soon because she did go into hospice, and she declined pretty quickly once she was there. But that was still something that was very hard, because my aunt, she was the glue of my family. If you talk to anyone in my family, they will tell you that my Aunt Donna was the person that held my family together. She was this vibrant, beautiful woman, independent, strong. You know, she'd been through a lot of crap in her life. She picked herself up. She owned her own business. She was just this beautiful woman, and she was so caring and so giving. She loved her family beyond words. And she would always plan get-togethers. If you needed something done, she was the one to call, and she would get everyone together, because no one said no to Donna. Everyone, you know, and she told you you're going to do something, you did it. So, you know, it was definitely a very, very hard loss on my family. And it's still difficult to talk about. You know, especially since she was going to come visit for Christmas, because she had just recently moved to be with her boyfriend, and they were just building their house and basically living her dream. And that's when she got sick. So really, really devastating to my family. But I mean, she's in heaven now, and she's not hurting anymore, you know, so that's what it's you know, you can't be sad for her, just sad for us that we don't have her anymore. Yeah, so that was very difficult for me. The car accident, my aunt passed away a couple days before Christmas. Found out that my boyfriend, his cousin's 2 sons were in a very, very serious accident. One of them was killed instantly. He was 16. The other one is 21, was in a coma for like a month. I think from last I heard that he's doing well and he's recovering. but they did lose their 16-year-old son. So that you know, even though I didn't know them, and Josh wasn't super close to them, it still hurts, you know, because that's his family, and his family is basically my family. And it's just such a big loss to lose someone so young over something that could have completely been avoided, because it was, they live up in northern Idaho, and the way the accident happened was it was snowing and nasty out. They were trying to pass somebody, and their car had hit ice and spun and stalled. It stalled out, and it was sitting this way in the lane. So the lane's going like this. The car was sitting right here. And as he's trying to get the car to come back on, they were struck by a pickup truck, and that is what killed the one instantly, and the other one, you know, had to be life flighted. It was very, very bad. Turns out the driver was drunk and high. So, you know, it's just like, my aunt, as much of a loss as that was, we foresaw it coming. But it's just this, it was like, it didn't have to happen. And I don't know. I don't mean to get all like mushy and sad and stuff, but that's just what's been going on. This all happened in the month of December. So that was pretty devastating for him and his family. And then a couple of days after Christmas, my blue-tongued skink passed away. And this was out of the blue as well. I had literally just checked on him the day before. He was fine, no problems. I went to go get him out of his cage because I hadn't had him out in a few days, and thought, you know, hey, let's bring him out, get him some exercise, and he was gone. That has been really hard for me as well. So I'm going to start crying here. I've had a lot of loss recently, all in December, which is just like, what the heck, Lord? I don't understand. I don't know. I think I'm actually, and I love that lizard, but I didn't realize I would be grieving as hard and as much as I am over him. He was a big part of my life. I got him as a hatchling from a local breeder, and he was only 7-8 years old. And blue-tongued skinks can live a lot longer than that. I don't remember the exact age, but I think at least 12. I think even 20 maybe years in captivity. I'll have to look that up. But I know he was young, and he was sick, excuse me, over the summer. I ended up taking him to the vet because he was having fluid retention in his throat and was wheezing and stuff. And for those of you who know reptile diseases and that kind of thing, it was not upper respiratory infection. That's the first thing they tested for. It wasn't that. They don't really know what it was. So they just put him on antibiotics, and I had to give him antibiotics and pain medication, and we dewormed him because they found out he had pinworms, so I had to like completely redo his cage and clean him out and do all this stuff. So that was perfectly fine, then he seemed to be okay. And that was back in like June. And once that went away, I didn't notice anything wrong with him. His personality was exactly the same. He was still eating, drinking, pooping, everything the same. And he just passed away. So I don't know if it was maybe that he was still sick somehow, and we just didn't know it and didn't know what it was. There's really no way to know. So that was pretty difficult for me to deal with. And like I said, this was all in December. So that was a very heavy month for me. My mental health has not been good. I always get worse in the wintertime. I think it's, sad seasonal depressive disorder. And I do have that. I have depression, and it does definitely get worse in the wintertime. But then you add on all these tragic losses so close to the top of each other. Another thing I didn't mention was I have a cousin who was actually murdered on Christmas Day. And so my aunt dying, the anniversary of her death, my boyfriend's cousin dying, my animal dying, I mean, all this stuff, all in December, it was just really, really difficult for me to cope. And I'm still struggling mentally, trying to work through all this. And I mean, I'm okay, like I'm in no danger of harming myself or anything like that. I'm just really down, really lack of motivation, lack of energy, just feeling really depressed, you know. And so I'm dealing with it, trying to work through it, and trying to figure out my health. Excuse me. I go see my doctor next week, my naturopath, and she's actually testing me for something called babesia. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It is a co-infection with Lyme disease, just like Epstein-Barr virus is a co-infection to Lyme disease. And she's been speaking to a Lyme specialist, and he believes it's very likely that I do have this. So they need to test me for it. But of course, it's something that my insurance doesn't cover, so... Oh man, waiting for disability is a really not a fun experience. I don't know if I mentioned before, but I am in the process of applying for disability. I'll go ahead and make another video about that, because this one is already a half an hour long. Holy crap. And I'm pretty sure you guys aren't going to want to sit for a half an hour and listen to me ramble, so I'm going to go now. And I will hopefully get some more videos up really soon. I've been kind of doing like a little bit of vlogging here and there throughout this week, so I'm hoping I can kind of put it together, and you guys can kind of get a glimpse into my life. Thanks, guys.